Saudi Arabia is allied with the United States in the war on terror, but the kingdom's critics say it is playing both sides, siding with America while continuing to promote Islamic fundamentalism around the world. Osama bin Laden himself is a Saudi, as is the man sitting next to him in this videotape. Prince Bandar bin Sultan is the Saudi ambassador to the United States. Prince Bandar, thank you, sir, for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Chris.
So in the paper this weekend, the Associated Press is reporting that your government has still not decided whether to show the tape of Osama bin Laden bragging about blowing up the World Trade Centers and the Pentagon. What do you make of that decision, and why does your government still not want to show that tape which incriminates Osama bin Laden?
Chris, I think if these reports are true, shame on Saudi Arabia. Truth is, on the day of the airing of the tape of bin Laden, it was shown in Saudi Arabia 3 times on the main news and twice afterward. Bin Laden is not big news in Saudi Arabia as a terrorist. You know why? Because we knew he was a terrorist before the 11th of September. He was stripped from his nationality, his people were chased, his people were behind the attack that killed 5 American soldiers in Saudi Arabia 4 or 5 years ago. When we captured them, we tried them under Sharia law, we executed them. Guess what? Western media said we did something terrible, we're killing dissidents. You know, those dissidents, when we chased them in Saudi Arabia,
right,
the followers of Osama bin Laden, they escaped to London, Paris, Frankfurt, America. On the 10th of September, most of those people were called dissidents. On the 12th, they were called terrorists.
Well, let me tell you why they're terrorists, because 15 people from your country blew up our World Trade Center and our Pentagon. If 15 Americans had gone to Saudi Arabia and blown up your iconic places like the World Trade Center and the equivalent of the pyramids or something like that over there, you would be wanting to know why those people did it, and you'd want our government to tell us why they did it. Has your government dug into who these 15 people are and why they did it to us, what they did to us on September 11th?
But, Chris, you just proved my point. You cannot take yes for an answer. I'm saying we called them terrorists before 11 September. You called them dissident. After the 11th of September, the same people became terrorists to you. You've switched their category from dissident to terrorist. For us, they are terrorists. When you say bin Laden in Saudi Arabia, people say, yes, that renegade, that bad guy. Therefore, bin Laden or the 15 people who were in the airplane, or people who follow them or support them, they are not just terrorists after what they did on the 11th of September. They are evil, Chris.
But if they're evil and they're dissidents in your country, why don't they blow up your country, their own country? Why do they come here and blow up ours?
They tried to do that in Saudi Arabia many times. Touch wood that they didn't succeed as big as they did in the United States, but they attacked people, they exploded bombs in Saudi Arabia.
What we don't understand is why bin Laden, who comes from a royal family, was like coming from the Rockefellers in this country. All right, it's a good comparison, isn't it?
It is a good comparison,
okay,
but a renegade one.
But he's a renegade.
Yes.
But why doesn't his family go after him? Why doesn't the family? Why don't you freeze the assets of all the wealthy Saudis who are giving money to these types of organizations?
This is the tragedy, and you have to forgive me. The American media is either lazy or ignorant. This man, his family froze his assets. They disavowed of him. They disowned him. The government stripped him from his nationality. And I want to question the report you mentioned that if there was an election in Saudi Arabia between him and the king, he would have won. You know something? That is fancy talk. If bin Laden had such a great followers in Saudi Arabia, he wouldn't be hiding in Afghanistan. He would be in Saudi Arabia leading his people. You make it sound like out of 12 million Saudis, 3 million were following him. You're talking about a handful. How do you explain this guy Walker? He's an American living in San Francisco. Why would he follow? I can't speak for crazy people. Nobody has monopoly over crazies. And Saudi people take offense when people say Islamic terrorists. Rabin was not killed. Prime Minister Rabin of Israel was not killed by an Islamic terrorist. He was a Jewish religious guy. IRA are not Muslims. They are terrorists. McVeigh, can you imagine after McVeigh's death, after McVeigh blew up those 200 Americans in Oklahoma, if I came and said, all blue eyes, blondes, who were veterans, are terrorists.
Even though bin Laden recruits most of his people from Saudi?
Not most of his people. No, you see, you make it. This is the problem. You all start with a premise, and then everything has to be fact. The premise is wrong. The truth of the matter is, we think is evil, bin Laden. We think people who follow him are evil. We have pain for what happened in America.
Because of what they believe or what they do?
Because what they believe and what they did. Islam is against hate. Islam is for tolerance. Saudi Arabia practices Islam. Does it make sense to you, Chris, if Bin Laden and his likes, those evil people,
right,
are supposed to be the product of the Saudi religious teachings?
Yeah.
If that is true, and they consider, Bin Laden was in public saying the Saudis are infidels, their leaders are infidels, their religious leaders, are we stupid? Why would we go and teach people so they can come and attack us?
So that you can attack somebody else?
Wrong. No. They started with us. They killed what Taliban has been doing for 3 years, now 5 years. Killing other Afghanistan other Muslims. America is just too great, and the American media is too important to be ignorant.
Right.
Take his interview. If you are an Arabic-speaking person, what he said in Arabic was worse than the translation in English.
Right.
There is nobody who's an Arab, who speaks good Arabic, who's a Muslim, who can have any doubt that this guy is an evil man by what he said, not the translation. To understand the Saudi sentiment, they will say, and we cannot understand why, before 11 September, you considered people like him dissidents. They were dissidents. They were evil. They were terrorists. You were saying because they were this way because you don't give them freedom of speech. You're right. Because what they were speaking was poisonous and evil. There are people still in London today who are saying things that you would think they would be arrested. But more important, Bin Laden, if he's brave, if he has such a lot of followers, if he can win, if we have elections in Saudi Arabia and beat the king, aren't you curious why is he hiding in Afghanistan? Why didn't he get in an airline, land in Riyadh, and then
because
leave
they have
people?
one question, Prince Bernard, I'm going to have to ask you one last question, because I know you've dealt with this since I've known you since 30 years ago. Do you think the American media is anti-Arab? Be honest about this.
I think very small segment of the American media is anti-Arab. But I think the danger is that large segment of the American media are really shallow. They really are shallow.
You're hurting them.
I know I hate
This is the worst critic of all.
But also, I'm being honest.
Yeah.
I'm being honest here. And I think that's dangerous for the American people.
Prince Bandar, Your Highness, thank you for joining us.
Happy birthday, Chris.
Ambassador to the United States for many years. Up next, John Walker, the American Taliban. New information suggests he was more than just a wayward religious zealot and actually trained to be a terrorist. That's John Walker, USA born. You're watching Hardball.